A massive clear-up operation is underway after the deadliest storms in the American Midwest in decades. Tornadoes ripped through several states. At least 80 people have been killed in Kentucky alone, according to the state's governor. Illinois, Missouri, Tennessee and Arkansas have also been hit, and entire towns are devastated. President Joe Biden has promised victims whatever help they need.
Homes flattened as far as the eye can see. From the ground, the scenes look just as apocalyptic.
It's one thing when we know the potential of the atmosphere. It's another thing when it actually becomes a reality. And every meteorologist's worst fear is when the worst case happens. And that's what we have here. This very well may be the longest tracking tornado in United States history.
Though residents here are no strangers to tornadoes, few had expected they would be so severe, tearing through 5 states and leaving a trail of death and destruction in their wake. Thousands have lost everything, including access to electricity, but many are just grateful to be alive.
My back door blowed in my face, the glass. So I went to the side to get away from that. And my son was here in the hallway and he was hollering for me. So I turned around and came back through it. The wind was blowing so hard I nearly fell. And got here in the hallway and we got down over our dogs and we were both praying. Praying.
Search and rescue teams are scouring the debris to find those still missing. Some 100 people were working on the Christmas rush in this Amazon warehouse when it was struck. At least 6 have died. Many are still unaccounted for. As the search for victims continues, US President Joe Biden has promised to provide residents here with whatever they need.
For more, let's bring in reporter Travis Ragsdale, who's in Louisville, Kentucky. Travis, welcome to DW. Now, these terrible scenes we've seen from these states, with Kentucky the worst hit, we know there's a recovery effort going on, but what's the scale of it at the moment, this search and recovery effort?
Well, right now, that's exactly what's going on. It's search and still recovery. You have to think that this tornado that we're talking about was on the ground here in the United States for more than 200 miles, so more than 300 kilometers. And there are town after town after town that are just rubble at this point. And so rescue crews are still working through all that rubble. We know right now that the only way we can have an idea of how many people are still missing, there are at least 6 pages, so 6 printer pages full of names that people and rescue crews are still searching for, even a day and a half after the storm struck.
And the people you mentioned from these towns that are affected, how are they coping after this devastation?
I was in some of those towns yesterday, and it's hard to explain the feelings that they have. We were there as the sun came up in Mayfield, Kentucky, which was the hardest hit city. It's a city of about 10,000 people. And when the sun came up and people ventured out of their homes and they walked out to see what was left of their town, it was just shell shock. They could not believe. Many people were crying, as you can imagine, and maybe their homes weren't affected, but to see their town like this, they just couldn't believe it. And it's hard to, in that moment, think, okay, what do I do now? How do I recover from this? How do we recover as a community from this? And that's what they're still dealing with today.
I know we've talked about the focus being on the recovery effort at the moment, but it's not normal to have tornadoes in December, is it? And are the officials giving any clues or any ideas as to why they think this extreme weather has developed at this time?
It's all related to the atmosphere here. We got a cold front when you wouldn't expect it, when we had very warm weather, and the mixing of the atmosphere caused this to happen. But like you said, normally in the spring is when we see, and tornadoes are not rare for this part of our country. We get tornadoes fairly often. They're not this strong, but it was kind of just the perfect confluence of atmosphere and temperature that ended up dropping these tornadoes out of the sky.
All right, Travis, many thanks for your thoughts. Travis Ragsdale in Louisville, Kentucky.